Welcome to Love and Growth Podcast. My name is Jason. This is Danielle. Welcome back to another episode. And we've got a couple questions and a couple DMs that have asked us to go over what we consider board meetings. Um, so not specifically like date nights or that kind of thing. Like, how do we structure board? Like, what is that actually? What is that actually?
Yeah. Well, I think we could also do um, board meetings versus date nights as well to set that clarification too.
Yes, because they are two totally different
hmm
things. And
They are not the same.
if you cross over the two of them, like things get twisted super quick. So I guess first things first, let's go over the main difference between the two. So how would you describe a board meeting versus a date
So date night I would describe as quality time between the two of you, right? It would be for us specifically, like we have our number one rule for date night is no phone because date night is to connect with each other. Like date night for us is we can sit there and talk for hours and never run out of things to talk about. And it's just regain that connection and keeping that connection weekly throughout the chaos of the day-to-day life.
Yeah, I think, and that's huge, and it's huge to really distinguish that. It not to distinguish. Let's change the verbiage of that. This doesn't have to be something that involves spending money.
Correct.
This is just something that you two are together at a given time that you're literally invested in each other. This is not something where, oh, we're going to go for a movie on date night. Oh, I'm going to sit down and watch a show on date
Right.
night. That could be a component.
Right. But that's like for me, specifically, like my love language is quality time. So for me, screen time is not quality time. Like if we wouldn't sit in front of a screen, I could have sat at home and not gone on a date night. So like I'm very like to spend quality time is like being present with each other and sitting there watching a movie and not talking and not deepening your bond. To me personally, this is my opinion, that's not a date.
Right.
I would much rather go for a walk in a park at sunset than go sit at a movie.
That's a big thing too. It doesn't have to be something where you are
Mm-hmm.
spending money. We talked about it, but it's something where you should be purposely connecting with each other. So even if you are home, like change the setting, change the where you are, change what you're doing to the sense of like play a board game. Do something that involves just the two of you
Right.
and put the phones away. Turn the
Mm-hmm.
TV off. Like we get so wrapped up with, well, I'll use my phone for music. I'll use my phone for
Mm-hmm.
this. And that rabbit hole opens up so fast that it's like, well, I changed the song, but this email came through at the same time. Or let me just send this quick text. And that defeats the entire purpose of it. Like, as soon as you divert that attention, you are automatically saying, like, this song is more important than you because
Right.
I have to change it. This email is more important than you because I have to answer it or even look at it.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact of swiping things away is diverting your attention from the
Yeah.
other person.
I mean, our phones are upside down.
Upside down, off to the side.
Yep.
Like, it's a big deal. And I think that is a very big distinguisher for a date night is
Yeah.
like those screens need to be away. Any
And
distraction that it takes away.
I will put a little side note because I know we're gonna get it from those parents. Yes, if your child calls, that's the one
Answer.
exception.
Yeah.
You answer. It's still your child. But that is it. Like, if it's a babysitter or something like that, you have an emergency, like you don't know when it's a babysitter or something.
Right.
So yes, answer. But don't just pull out social media. Don't just text for work or answer, hey, this person wants to jump on a call and they might close a deal. Like, too bad. Because that ruins all of it for your partner.
Not only does it ruin it for your partner, the fact of the matter is it ruins it for you because then you're not fully there.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a place where you're just kind of half in and half out. You're like
Mm-hmm.
dipping your toe in the water because until you are fully like your attention is fully there. And yeah, everybody's love language might not be quality time.
Right. Yours is not.
Mine is not. But what that attention does for the two of you
Mm-hmm.
is beyond compare.
Right.
Because I know that we used to just we'd go on date night. We check the box. We're sitting at the same table together, but
Yeah.
like you're on
We're
your
out.
phone, mine on. Yeah, we're
We're
out. We're
out.
doing
That
this,
counts. Like,
and it's. I think the other clear thing that we have to put out there is date night does not mean double date. It does not mean invite friends. It does not mean go out with a group. It means like you two are together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a way to kind of dial in deeper. If you're struggling to find things to talk about with your partner, there's a deeper problem going on because
Yeah.
there's so much stuff that are happening that it doesn't even need to be, you don't have to talk about each other. Like, talk about the world, talk about life, talk about goals, talk about ambitions. All this kind of stuff is meant
Mm-hmm.
for you to reconnect in some sort of way to say, like,
Yeah.
hey, this is where everything is.
Yeah, I mean, we've even gone through conversations from like childhoods,
Yeah.
and it opens up to all kinds of conversations that you can have. You just have to be there.
You have to be willing to have them,
Yeah.
and you have to put yourself in the situation where you're not distracted or unwilling to
Mm-hmm.
share things. Like, if you're holding yourself back, there's a deeper problem with that. So date nights, again, non-negotiables with everything, but this is something where it is you two plugged into each other. Here's the other thing I would recommend, and this might be something that I don't know if you feel the same way. You want to try not to talk about if you're married or dating and you have
Mm-hmm.
kids together. Like, this is not a vent session about the kids.
Right.
This is not a vent session about those types of things. It's not a vent session about work either. Like, you can discuss things, but the bottom line is this is the time for you to connect with each other on things that matter most, not just the normal day to day
Right.
conversations.
And then, of course, it stuff does come up, but like we try and just say, okay, when we start dating, or even if we're in the car driving to date night, it's like, hey, this is what happened at work today. This is what happened with the kids today. Because then you get that talk out of the way, and then you can focus on each other. Because again, like that's the main point is focusing on each other. So like obviously you have to talk about life because you're living it together, but get that out of the way.
And actually connect and be there with each other. And here, let's do this. Let's transition from that. What are some ideas that people can use for date? Like, money's tight, economy's fucked, like whatever, like the end of the world is coming. How can people just plug in a date night with each other? In your opinion, like what are some things that you think would be like great options?
Have a picnic.
Picnics.
Go to a park or a lake and sit down and watch the sunset together. Go for a walk.
Yeah. So many free options. Like, the idea is just
Go walk around the mall and window shop. Go
that's
like
fun. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good, people are gonna be like, oh, that sounds silly. That's great. Because the things that come up in conversations, like, you'll look at things and then all of a sudden you guys start to realize, hey, this person wants this or this person wants that. Like,
yeah.
you can start to build future things that you want together. And let's face it, fucking malls are fun places that people watch. And
I
imagine
was just gonna say people watch.
imagine the conversations that kick up when you actually just spend time talking to each other and looking around
Yeah.
and taking the world in together.
Go pop a squat in the food court and just people
Just
watch.
watch, yeah. There's some interesting people out there, man. Yeah, anything that involves just getting out. I mean, shit, you don't even have to really leave your house. Like, go outside and just sit outside. Like, just be there in the moment. Just embrace being together. And I mean, if you're a parent, yes, if you're going to go out, like, invest the 10, 20, $30, depending on what your babysitters are. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge time frame. It's
Mm,
just a time for you to get away together.
right.
And I think designating the time is going to be key, and dialing that into a schedule
Yeah.
is where we need to be.
Go have fun. If your jam is like dinner, go have dinner. If you want to go axe throwing, go do that. If you want to go like I don't know, there's so many ideas
Even
that
if
you
it's
can do. Just
just,
have
yeah,
fun and connect with each other.
even if it's as simple as just go get a scoop of ice cream together. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to break the bank on date night. Like, yes, I think it's sometimes like you want to go all out, you want to go do some cool
Mhm.
shit, like go do that.
Right, but don't let money be an excuse not to do it.
Yeah, don't make money an excuse not to, because there's too many options to not spend money.
Right.
There's too many options. Like, just being at home and shift your scenario so that you're outside or you're in a different room, or shit, just turn everything off and just be there by candlelight together. Like, just the time together. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if you have kids, it doesn't matter what you have. The idea is spending the time together. And I think that's a good segue into saying, okay, so that's what a date night is. So
Mm-hmm.
what is a board meeting? Because those sound stuffy first and foremost. Um, but for somebody like for people like us that do handle this like a business, that creates such a huge distinction between
Mm-hmm.
the two.
Even if you don't, I mean, it sets you up for success, right? Like it sets your patterns, it sets your tone for everything.
Yep.
So a board meeting is where you have more constructive conversation.
It's not even more. That's what it's all
So
about.
it is
Yeah.
well versus date night. So you would have like constructive conversation. So our date night, or I'm sorry, our board meetings vary from the crazy schedules. It goes to the hey, I have a problem in this area and we need to talk about it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with board meetings, one, I'm going to say this as carefully as I can. They're not as friendly as date nights, and they shouldn't be. Date nights are for you to connect and love and everything like that. A board meeting is a different kind of love. A board meeting is you need to get on the same page because the business of our relationship is fucked up, or it's off track, or we just need to come together. It could be
Like,
any of the sorts.
yeah, you could talk about exactly the schedules, issues with each other, issues with the kids,
Right.
needing to get a united front,
Yep.
needing to just air out what is not working, needing to just sit down and communicate.
Right. Here's the biggest thing with board meetings, and I think this is a big way to frame this out. For those of you entrepreneurs, run your own business, part of a business, anything like that, board meetings need to have KPIs, key performance indicators of what you're going to go over. Here's the bottom line with KPIs. Our KPIs aren't the same as everybody else's, aren't the same as yours. Everybody's relationship and family operates a different way. So your focuses will be different. Your focuses will be laid out differently. But at the end of the day, some of the ideas that you want to make sure they're on the table, first figure out what your KPIs are. Like, hey, do we need to go over family schedules? Do we need to get on the same page? Are you pissed off over this? Am I doing that? Do you need help in this place? Do I need help in
Right?
that
Are
place?
my needs getting met?
Are my needs getting met? Do we need to schedule more adult time? Do we need to schedule more date nights? Are we having problems with one of the kids? Am I having problems at work that are leaking into something else?
Mhm.
Are you doing everything you need as far as chores are concerned? Do we need more structure? Do we need more freedom?
Right. And it's also a good time to set the expectation.
Yep.
Like, this is what I'm expecting out of this, or hey, this is where we're at with X, Y, and Z, so I'm expecting to get over to here.
Yep.
And just
Financials.
setting, like, hey, yeah, and financials, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
Because, couples, they have a hard time talking about that. We used to.
I had a hard time talking about that.
Yeah, we used to. But now we're pretty open about it.
Yep.
But the board meetings, the most important thing about the board meeting is that they are in a public place.
They're in a public place and you take one car. You have to take one car to get there.
You're less likely to say fuck you and leave your spouse if you only have
That's
one. Less likely. I didn't say you won't. I said you are less
You're
likely.
less. I was less likely. But yeah, you go to a public place, and this could be again. This doesn't. You don't take money as an excuse to not do
You can
something.
go to a coffee shop and
Go
buy
to
a
a
five
coffee
dollar
shop
coffee.
and
Like,
just sit there and have this out. Because sometimes these do get heated.
they do.
There are collisions. There are conversations. There are hard conversations that need to be had.
There are times where we would get to where we weren't productive anymore and we would leave without talking.
Yep. You go in talking, we left with that, but that's okay.
It's
But
okay.
that's okay. The idea of a board meeting through the entire thing is this is a working relationship. You have to figure out how to make this thing work.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships take work. You need to know what areas need improvement. You need to know what areas are actually working well, and you celebrate those. But the idea of the board meeting is to get on the same page
Right.
and get the problems out.
Right. And so sometimes, like, if we leave without talking, like, we still got out our issues.
It's out there. Yep.
We would still say, hey, this is where the problem is. Well, this is how I'm taking that. And you go back and forth a little bit. And then once you realize, like, it's not going to be productive, stop. But you've gotten everything off of your chest. Now you've heard your partner. And that's the key takeaway because then you're going to go home, even if you're not talking at that point, and you're going to dwell on it and you're going to think about it and it's going to process.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to come together again to resolve that conflict.
Right. And the other thing is, this is going to be hard for some people. It was hard for me at certain points where when you bring up something that is a tough topic,
Mm-hmm.
areas that you're failing in or struggling in or anything like that, the first response you're going to have is to be very defensive. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be very, very, very hard to process. The biggest thing that I can tell people going into these is both people have to agree to it, but like you're not there to critique the other person and tear them down.
Right.
So if there's something that I'm missing out on or I'm struggling with, the base premise is you're bringing it to my attention not to hurt me, but to say, hey, I need help here, or
Yeah.
this needs to be this way. And it's not a place to say, like, hey, I'm failing. And it's not a place to say, like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Right.
It's at a place to say, hey, like, this is a part that we need to really improve.
Yeah, it's to say like, here I have a feeling, and this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm taking away from this. So I need to bring that to your attention so that we can work on it. We can fix it. Because if we don't know what the problem is, we can't fix it. And that's like going along with that is don't shut your partner down. If your partner is coming to you with a topic, don't just be like, nope, off the table, not happening. Like, no, if they feel it's important enough to bring to the board meeting, then you need to discuss it. You can't just shut them down and tell them they cannot talk about
No, realize that it takes so much like nervousness for them to bring it up. Like they're already
it.
scared because they know that it's not working and they know that it could cause such a trigger in you. They've worked up the courage to bring it to your attention. The worst thing you could do is smack them down right away
Right.
because that just makes them feel like, well, why the hell should I bring this up anymore? Like,
Right.
why should I even? Why the fuck do we need a board meeting when he's not even going to listen to me or she's
Right.
not going to
And
listen?
that's the other important thing too is that the like understand together how important a board meeting is. So like if a board meeting is requested, it goes on the calendar.
Top
It
priority.
becomes a priority. You don't just go, yeah, well when I have time we'll get something on the books, like whatever. No.
Schedule it.
If your partner feels, hey, I need to sit down and have this with you, then you make it a priority. You put it on the schedule right then and there.
Yeah.
And if something comes up where you have to reschedule a board meeting, you schedule it right then and there. Don't just say, well, I can't do this one. So,
Yeah. Well,
no, because then you're going to lose trust in your partner. Then you're going to start to be like, why? I'm not good enough.
right.
Well, I'm not a priority to you
Why
because you
can't you
keep
make the time?
rescheduling. You can't make the time for me, and I am supposed to be the priority.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a big thing because we do know. I mean, we know life comes up, but at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship and you're building something, like we talked about this in the first one, like your partner is your priority. Like you are your main priority. You need to build, but you need to build with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't schedule that and you just let it kind of like, well, let's just see where it fits in this week, like it doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't work because nobody takes it serious.
Right, and then your partner doesn't feel heard.
Doesn't feel heard, doesn't feel like you
Mm-hmm.
care because you're not putting that there. You're putting it as a place where it's like, oh, maybe it happened, maybe it won't. And then you get there and you're like, well, we don't really need to talk about this. We don't really need to talk about that. Like, if it's on the list, you talk about it. Like, here's the other thing with board meetings both of you show up with a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Both people show up with a notebook. With things that you need, like, you can also lay out the topics that you're going to ahead of time and your immediate notes. But both of you bring a notebook because you're both going to share from a point of
Yeah,
your own perception.
yeah.
So it's good to take notes on how the other person perceives things because you're not going to see it the same.
Right. Well, there's even times where we will each have our set of lists of what we
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about, and half of the time when we go over my list, it checks off half of your list. Like everything kind of overlaps, but it's just that we each need to express what it means to us. Because sometimes, like we've talked about this before, where it's like we could be saying the same thing, but we're not saying it the same way.
Right.
And then it causes friction because we're like, you're not listening. No, you're not getting what I'm saying. And it's like, no, really, we are saying the same thing.
Literally saying the same thing. And it's, yeah, because we don't hear the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be realistic. The way I talk, the way you talk, we can say the same thing and people hear us different. Even on these. Like, I know that we've come across and some people have written to us and they're like, I like how you both explain
Mm-hmm.
because we don't say things.
Right.
And your perspective of things, my perspective of things are totally different. And if we do that at board meetings where you come from your perspective, I come from mine, yes, we may collide, but at the end of the day, when we get clear on what it is, it just makes it stronger because we both understand. We're both able to put that in a place where we're like, oh, I get it. Like, we need to put this here.
Right.
So, like, even if you're breaking down the financials, and we're like, okay, here's where money's at. Here's where we need to be next week. Here's the potential of what's coming out. This is what I would like to happen. Like,
Yeah.
we need to shop for X, Y, and Z. We need to make sure these are getting done. Here's the bills that are coming up. And these are things that sound like so minuscule,
Mhm.
but if we don't talk about it, and I assume that you're paying this bill on time, and we get to the end of the week, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't even pay it because I forgot. Like, hey, it was on the list. Like, we got everything laid out, and it's not a jab for me to say that because we did. We put it on the list. We went through
Right.
it, and then it's like, well, I'm still not coming from a place of berating you. It's more like, hey, is there anything else we missed?
Right.
And I think that's why coming to the board meeting with an agenda of this is what we're going to talk about. Here's simple, easy things. Here's the schedule we have coming up next week. Here's the financial state of where we are. And I know that that's a difficult one for some of you out there because it was for me. But here's where we are financially. What bills do we have coming up? Where does this money need to go? Where do we need to allocate? And how is it hurting us towards our big goals? What do we need to do differently? Next one, if you have kids, like, hey, here's the kids' schedules. Here's what's got to happen with the kids. This is where I'm struggling with this one. This is where I'm struggling with that one. This is a problem here. And like, how's roles and responsibilities working out? Like, where are you at this week? Where are you at this week? Come together with like, hey, I really struggle with this. I might need more time to do this or more help to do this. And then so we consider that like what's working, what's not working.
Right.
And going through those main key areas. And then when you break out of those, then individual things that need to come up. Like, hey, we're having a main problem with this. Or, I mean, there's been weeks where we can go off our normal KPIs, but like, we'll come to each other and be like, we need a board meeting now.
Yeah.
Those ones that happen off schedule that need to be scheduled are because there's an issue.
Right.
So the normal KPIs kind of go to the side and the main issue gets addressed. And that is the main topic. So it's like board meetings Thursday, date nights Tuesday, like that's what happens.
Right.
If there's something else that comes up that's outside of that, like there's been days that it's like Wednesday, it'll come in, it's like Wednesday, and we're like, we need to have a board meeting like now.
Yeah.
And so like we'll put a board meeting in like Wednesday. And it doesn't happen often. Normally it's something that can go to Thursday, but that's been a long time coming. But like if immediate action needs to be done, you don't push those off.
Right.
You don't push those to the next. Well, if it happens on Monday and a board meeting's already scheduled for Friday, we don't wait till Friday.
Right. If the schedule allows, we move it up earlier because that has to be the priority.
gotta be
So it's like,
priority.
hey, there's a time right here, or hey, I can shift this over. We can switch that. Like,
Yeah.
you try and work that out and make sure that
As
like
soon as
it gets
possible.
done. Because the longer you drag out an issue, the more distance you're going to put between the two of you. The more
Right.
somebody's not going to feel heard. The more somebody's going to feel beaten down. The more somebody's going to feel unloved. Like,
Right. You have to get that knocked out quickly. And I think that's the biggest thing is being able to do that and saying, hey, like this is a priority. We really need a board meeting.
yeah,
And there's going to be a point in time. I would say if you're getting into this and you're like, hey, this sounds like something we need, put it on the schedule. Date night, board meeting night. Don't cross the two over. Don't handle your board meeting stuff on your date. Don't do it. Like we've been there, we've done that. Fuck that up. Don't do that. Um, date nights are for connecting. Board meetings are for growing. And I think having those distinct nights make it so much better and so much cleaner. You can get more accomplished. And let's face it, like you have to be open on board meetings. Like you have to be willing to be open and hear each other out because you have to have a trust factor that the other person just wants you.
right. That's whatever they feel like they need to bring to the table. You need to listen. You can't say no. We can't talk about that. You can't say
Nothing should be off
no.
the
Like,
nothing should be off the table if it is important to the other person.
right. The board meeting is essentially your safe space, right? That's why we do them in public places because then you're less likely to attack your partner in a public place. Again, I said less likely, but but it's true. And somebody who maybe is a little bit more hesitant can feel more comfortable coming to you in that public place where then you can have more of a constructive conversation rather than an all-out war.
Yeah, because if you do it at home, because I've heard people like, oh, we had a board meeting at home. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work because if you collide, collide is a different word that I use for fighting because it's not always a fight. You collide with each other. At home, you're one more likely to be very explosive, volatile, and very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it gives you the opportunity to just walk away
Right.
and just be in a different room and
Mm-hmm.
just like don't talk. That's not how this works.
Right.
Like you can't hide from each other in your relationship. And if you are, like, stop. So you don't want to be able to run away.
Right.
You want to be able to address it, get your heart and feelings on the line, get the actual solution laid out. That's the best thing you can do in a board meeting. Like if you're struggling with something, say either, hey, I don't really know how to fix this, or this is what I think we can try.
Mm-hmm.
If you come with those, like that knocks out 90% of the collision because then you're at a place where you can actually have a conversation. But that's the biggest thing for me is just saying, hey, board meetings are about collision. It's going to happen. Are they always happy? No. Are they always angry? No. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's just connect.
Yeah.
Let's just get this back on track. Let's just get aligned.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, hey, we need to schedule sex because it's been too long. It's crazy. Like this week, like it's insane. Let's put it on the books.
Yeah,
Like
we get to
do
the end of
it.
the week and we're like, yeah, you get to the end of the week and we're like, what the hell happened? And
Yeah.
we're like, we got to get this back on the book.
So like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to schedule adult time.
Yep. Adult activities are perfectly fine to put on there. Why not?
It doesn't make it stale. It doesn't make it whatever. It's just
No.
you can get caught up in life and forget. Like
You know.
connect with your partner. Bring your, especially when there's chaos, is normally when we need to connect the most.
Yep.
I don't know about all of you, but typically when life
We
is
have to connect.
crazy, we're like, hey, we need to stop. We need to connect.
Yep. And here's the other thing: if you do schedule it, they're like, oh, it's so unromantic if you schedule it. Why?
Why?
Because now you have it on a calendar that you can build an entire experience around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck? Like, why not?
Yeah, it's not like, oh, 5 o'clock, hump
Let's
time, let's
let's
go.
let's
Like,
go, jump on it.
no, you can still be seductive.
Yeah, because at that point, now you know it's happening. It's going to happen. You schedule it for Wednesday, whatever the fuck. You schedule it for Wednesday. Now, hump day. There you go, fucking hump day. But you schedule it for Wednesday, and you go. Now Wednesday morning, you wake up, and everything that you do and conversation you can have can be so much more playful
Right?
and
You
can be
can
more driven
start
towards
with
that.
those sexy text messages and flirt all day long and get all worked up.
Yeah. Why not? You already know. You know what the outcome should be.
Mm-hmm.
Make it the best possible outcome you
Mm-hmm.
can. Why not? So I know that got off on an odd tangent. Let's see how that goes.
Well,
But either way,
it's important.
it's huge. But bottom line, let's recap everything. Let's dial this back in because the basic foundation is date nights, board meetings. Two totally different. One is about deeper bonds and deeper connection within yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is getting each other on the same page. They are not overlapping, and they both should be done with you together. Date nights do not require money. They don't require anything, just being together. Board meetings, public place, bring your notebooks, go in one car.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Yes, spend $5, $10. Don't get the gigantic coffee because you don't need to take bathroom breaks. Just be together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, will you get loud? Maybe. We have.
We have.
But at the end of the day, you have to get everything out. You have to love each other enough and trust each other
Mm-hmm.
enough to know that these are the areas that we're going to dial in. So figure out what your KPIs are, put those into your board meetings, and bring your own ideas to it. Because you might not even know that he was thinking something different and he wants to do X, Y, and Z, and you had no idea.
Right.
Like goal setting, all that kind of stuff can come
Mm-hmm.
up in board meetings. But here's the bottom line. All of these things should be scheduled. All of these
Mm-hmm.
things need to be on the books for yourselves. This needs to be outlined in your relationship. And I don't want to come across preachy, but if you don't schedule it, you're not going to do it.
Right. You're gonna find it. Oh well, it was too busy this week. Oh well, the kids had soccer every day, so we didn't get it. Oh well, we couldn't find a babysitter, or
Yeah.
there's a million excuses. I'm too tired.
All the
If you
above.
have it scheduled, you're more than likely to do it.
That was us. We didn't schedule shit. We're like, oh, we'll get to it this week. We'll get to it this week.
Mhm.
Oh, we had this dinner. Oh, we had this outing.
Mhm.
Oh, we had this. Oh, shit, I didn't know that was going to happen. Get it on the books. Do it.
It's easier to schedule around it than to fit it in your
Yeah, non-negotiable.
schedule.
Like, anything we missed? I
I
think
don't think
those broke
so.
it down pretty good. If you have any other questions about board meetings, hit us in the comments, either on Instagram or here on the YouTube video or on the podcast, wherever you find this. Instagram's the best way. I think that contacts us directly. Um, but let us know, like, if you have questions around board meetings or date nights or need like clarification on anything, definitely hit us up. We've gone through this with a couple different people, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
But um,
Want to go even further? We have a coaching group too.
yeah, so yeah, we do have a coaching group. We just launched a relationship coaching group. So if you're dating, married, or just beginning this stage, I think the one thing that I do want to say about this, it's called p4connection.com. You can go check out more information. But the one thing I do want to talk about the coaching group is this really does mean a lot to both of us. This is a place for you to grow your relationship and prioritize each other.
Mhm.
Now, in saying that, both people are welcome in this group. And we do encourage both people to get in there, but we know that not both people are going to come around at the same time
Right.
all the time. So if you or your partner or whoever is seeing this thinks that this is something for you, like, jump in. We want you to be there, and your partner is welcome to come in whenever they're ready. But the idea for this is, how do we set the foundations of a relationship and a partnership to really prioritize each other, the power of each other, and really grow yourself with a full purpose of it all.
Mhm.
So p4connection.com. You can check the link in the bios, will be in there, but go to
Mhm.
p4connection.com, find out a little bit more. Let us know if you're interested. But anything that we missed on this one?
Nope.
I don't think so. There's a lot. So if you do have questions, let us know. But hit p4connection.com.
Yeah. Or shoot me a DM,
Shoot
and
us a
I'll come
DM.
right to
Yeah,
you.
shoot Danielle a DM. And we really appreciate you guys being here. We love all the feedback. We love the people that have reached out so far. Um, if you're interested in the coaching group and at least just finding out more, check it out. But leave us a like, subscribe, follow us. Comments are great. Feedback is great. Spotify, Apple iTunes, big on YouTube with it all. Like, we love doing this. So any other topics or anything you want to hear, let us know. Subscribe, like, share it. If you have other couples that need to hear this shit too, please share the show. We're doing it by ourselves and just trying to help as many people as possible. So we love you. Thank you so much for being here. Love you.
Love you.
See you guys next time.
Bye.